Dear class, this is our last visit to Virginia Woolf, my last visit in your company, as it were. I want to thank you for the lovely things you've written, which have buoyed me up through this strange and difficult time. I want to thank you all for the fact that not one of you, when I asked about what Peter Walsh fiddling with his pocket knife could represent, thank goodness none of you decided that there was anything sexual about it, or at least if any of you thought there was, you refrained from mentioning it, and described very well how one fiddles compulsively with something. You may have a thing you fiddle with in your pocket. It might not be significant, although unfortunately it might. And somehow, with Peter Walsh, one has to link the fact that he is an interesting man, much more interesting than someone like Richard Dalloway, Clarissa's husband. And at the same time, his life has been blighted by mistakes over women, the wrong woman, and even to the point where his status, his career openings have closed because of this. Who knows what he did? Did he, conduct himself badly in some kind of public disgrace? At any rate, the fact that Clarissa and he never quite got together seems to have blighted his life more than anything, and somehow the pocket knife enters in as symbol. But you refrained magnificently, I thought, from going the whole hog with that. I want to extend what was the last question of my previous quiz about Mrs. Dalloway, question 7, where I asked you whether you could, in any sense, experience the book as I do, which was rather as a piece of music than as a piece of fiction. And I feel badly about asking you that. It seems ungrateful for me to apparently be saying, if you can't, then you're not reading the book as I am, which indeed you shouldn't be reading the book as I am. And I didn't want you to have that feeling, but I would like to open up what I was trying to stress with that. And obviously by music, I mean specifically the instrumental music of the past 1,000 years, what's referred to as classical music or jazz. It doesn't fit at all with pop or rock or rap. The metaphor. I think perhaps I can make most clear what I mean is that the book at a certain point seems to dissolve for me from its various narrators, the people with whom the book itself is preoccupied, into the book itself speaking. And in a sense, dissolving into poetry. And that seems at times to be Woolf's intention. And for me, it places the reality, the real level of the book somehow above, beyond, and beneath the individual characters with whom it's concerned. So let me just read a paragraph on page 28 to illustrate my point. Quiet descended on her. Could be anybody. I mean, it's on Clarissa sewing. But quiet descended on her, calm, content, as her needle, drawing the silk smoothly to its gentle pores, collected the green folds together and attached them very lightly to the belt. So, on a summer's day, waves collect, overbalance, and fall, collect and fall. And the whole world seems to be saying, that is all, more and more ponderously until even the heart in the body which lies in the sun on the beach says too, that is all. Fear no more, says the heart. Fear no more, says the heart, committing its burden to some sea, which sighs collectively for all sorrows, and renews, begins, collects, lets fall. And the body alone listens to the passing bee, the wave breaking, the dog barking, far away, barking and barking. Now, that's what I mean. The book itself speaks. It's an extraordinary passage in terms of the function of the waves, which many of you observed, the function of the waves into the lighthouse, the sense of calming waves in which nature itself seems to reimpose a rhythm and beg of the body lying there in the sun on the beach to abandon itself to the point where the body alone listens to the passing bee, to the wave breaking, to the dog barking. And in that sense, the body alone responds to the book. The body lets the book be as a series of waves and responds to it as that. It's an extraordinary idea, I think, for a novel to declare. There are so many wonderful modernist novels that investigate experience, penetrate experience more deeply than traditional 19th century narrative, but nobody that addresses, I think, the nature of a reality beneath reality in that way. Another short passage, shorter than that, which reminds me of it, is how Rezia, poor Rezia, after her husband has flung himself out of the window, and she's given something, she doesn't know what it is, something sweet, to get through the experience, and she's flung into happiness. It seemed to her as she drank the sweet stuff that she was opening long windows, stepping out into some garden. But where? The clock was striking 1, 2, 3. How sensible the sound was, compared with all this thumping and whispering. And it says, and she's now in her own mind, despite what's just happened, her husband flinging himself out the window to his death, she put on her hat and ran through cornfields. Where could it have been? On to some hill, somewhere near the sea, for there were ships, gulls, butterflies. They sat on a cliff. In London, too, there they sat, and half dreaming, came to her through the bedroom door, rain falling, whisperings, stirrings among dry corn, the caress of the sea, as it seemed to her, hollowing them in its arched shell, and murmuring to her, laid on shore, strewn, she felt, like flying flowers over some tomb. So, Woolf, in this book, at least for me, often takes the liberty of using her characters and their meditations in a hallucinatory fashion. This is where Septimus, with his terrible hallucinations of wartime, and his friend Evans, who died in the war, is indeed a metaphor for all the narrators. They're all Septimus. We are all Septimus, even if we don't have terrible hallucinations for which doctors want to put us in their homes to sedate us and help us through the experience, even if we're just the Clarissas of the world. We too are prey to a deeper pull, a deeper tide. And into that passage, too, of Rezia in the immediate reaction to her husband's suicide, the sea, the caress of the sea is as important as it is into the lighthouse. And for Virginia Woolf, the ultimate image of what lies beyond, what lies beneath, is the sea. And so she has the courage to render any and all her characters as narrators, transparent in their response, in their deeper sense of a larger thing than their life, the reality of their life and their experiences. And in this regard, you could perhaps better say that where this is true of the book, it becomes poetry rather than music. I think of music because of the characters in the book as themes, as threads, as voices, as instruments in a tapestry of music, in which there are many occasions, like the 2 paragraphs I just read, where the music becomes greater than the instruments. And what you hear playing is the music rather than Louis Armstrong, whoever it might be who's playing, who surrenders to the message of the music, the grip of the music. And it seems to me that Woolf very deliberately here obliges the book to surrender and says, no, this is not about society ladies and lost romances, or even about the terrible tragedy of shell shock and PTSD. This is about life itself, that disconsolate thing. And the only consolation lies in life rather than in our individual life, in life that is signified by the images that Woolf reaches for, that even Rezia reaches for, that might just as easily be Clarissa or any of the characters reaching for, stepping out into a sunny landscape, certain sounds, the wind in corn, the caress of the sea. So at that moment, the fiction, the novel, enters a world of dream. And that dream is a dream of the deeper reality beyond ordinary human events. So that's what I meant. And when I said, I hope you can let go and surrender to that, that's all I meant, that you can allow the book to transcend itself and to say to you, yeah, all these toings and froings and parties and society doings and careers and maneuverings, amorous or political. Yes. But beneath them all, some comfort is to be taken. For her, the waves are the great comforters, and they soothe us and they say, don't allow yourself to believe that what you're experiencing is everything. It isn't. There's something deeper than that. And in many ways, I would almost be prepared to say that the book is concerned with the sacred, that this is in a sense a religious book. And I speak as somebody who is not a practicing member of any of the great religions. So I'm not saying, oh, be a Christian or forever be banished from the world of Woolf. It's not at all like that. But it is a sense that there is a greater world that will comfort us with its higher truth, its greater and deeper truth, if we allow it to do so. And it's all they're waiting for us all the time if we open ourselves to it. And I feel that the book expresses that sense of a sacredness which can rescue us from the horror and the triviality of life. So that's simply a response. That's what gets me through the final pages. I hear the book singing. And that's what my attachment to the book evinces. It says, yes, listen to the book. Never mind all those things that appear to be happening. Listen to the book singing. I hope this becomes available to you in whatever form pleases you. And we shall be moving on into a different world, different song, different author, because every novelist, I speak of the novel because it's been my lifelong practice and my lifelong obsession. Every novelist hears that deeper healing reality differently. And so closure, in the case of every novelist, relates to that deeper reality in a distinctive and separate way. So I wish you well of this heat wave, which for us here is terrible. We're trying to get things done in a heat so great that it would stun an ox. It would certainly stun me. But we're patiently trying to move house. At the same time, you are my comfort, my healing reality, when I can come back and speak with you and picture you there. This does wonderful things for me. You are the caress of the sea, as far as I'm concerned. Go well, please go safely. Wear your mask, gloves if possible. Don't surrender to the temptation, the siren claims of ignoring social gathering. Ulysses had to be strapped to the mast so that he didn't surrender to the sirens. Same with you. Strap yourself to the mast of social gathering and be well. With fond regards from your professor.